Throughout chapter 3, we see oppression in many different varieties. We see oppression in the women population, women's suffrage, and how they are just looked down upon in colonial societies, period, and even today's society, period. Women didn't get the right to vote until the 1920s, and we still see gender inequalities in status quotas, in jobs, and in everyday parts of society nowadays. Another vulnerable population that is discussed in Chapter 3 through the colonial period and in today's society that we see both no real significant change or discriminations against poor people in general. White poor people, black poor people, poor Native Americans, minority, majority, disabilities, non-disabilities, able. We see a lot of this discrimination throughout the history, and we don't see a lot of change from a societal standpoint. And it discussed this in the book against the oppression of vulnerable populations. These all fall under that population of vulnerable people. We see that people had to take a stand to get little to relative no change as far as we see it as an active standpoint. We see a lot of change in policies. Women have the right to vote. Black people have the right to vote. Black people are freed from slavery. Native Americans getting reparation for their land being taken. We see a lot of these policies change, but we see relative to no change as far as in the real world. Women get paid significantly lower than men do to do the same job, and some women may do the job better. We see people that are disabled not get looked at for having the job when they have the same mental capacity or capability as somebody that does have their legs that work. We see a lot of this people in poverty not getting the opportunity, being looked down upon because of what they don't have instead of what they want to gain. These are problems that we've seen in the colonial period that we see now even in today's society as far as 2020. We see failed policy strategies in the colonial period that haven't worked, and then we see them still trying to be brought up in today's society. If it didn't work in the past, how can you expect it to work now? So, to summarize it up, the first thing that we see is relative harsh means tested of welfare programs. Our welfare programs did not do much as far as the historical period. We see poor houses no longer exist in society. You know, even in today's society, there's a staggering amount of homelessness people. And we don't see much change in that. You know, the main thing that I took away from Chapter 3 is we have a lot of policies from the colonial period that have not worked or have been trying to be changed that still to this day are trying to get passed. It shouldn't take 100 to 200 years for a policy to come into effect and actually see change.